Donald Trump eliminated more than 70 climate and green energy initiatives in his first week in office. So are the lights going out on clean energy? Well, under the Biden administration, hundreds of billions of dollars of public money in the form of tax credits, grants and loans was used to fuel the energy transition and hit a target of decarbonising America's electricity by 2035. That has now been scrapped, and the new administration is even trying to block the payment of loans already agreed. Joachim Klement is head of strategy at Panmure Liberum. Joachim, how much of the energy transition or how much of the investment that companies thought they were going to receive is President Trump able to reverse?
Well, I think, and I'm not a legal expert here, but I think that loans that have already been spoken by the previous administration cannot be reversed. What can be done, however, is that any money that hasn't been spent yet can effectively be cancelled, which means no new loans, and any tranches of existing loans that haven't been paid out yet will not be paid out going forward. In the end, that effectively stops the push towards low carbon energies in the US, with one exception, and that is nuclear power, which is very much a thing that the new government likes, just like the old one.
Joachim, we'll come back to nuclear power, but the cheapest sources of electricity, even without subsidies, are solar and wind, aren't they? So is there a financial case for that transition that's compelling regardless of government policy?
Yes, absolutely. Depending on where you are in the US, the cheapest sources without subsidies are either West Texas Plains wind energy or California solar energy. That is likely to remain in place, and that is something that will continue to grow. These kinds of wind energy in the south of the US and solar in the west of the US will continue to grow. But definitely the growth rates on a national, let alone global level, are coming down quite a bit because of those headwinds from a lack of financing.
You mentioned the global level. What does Trump's trade war policy mean for this sector? Might it encourage European countries to transition faster to get away from US fossil fuels?
Well, in Europe, the good news is that Ursula von der Leyen and the European Commission last week have introduced their Compass guidelines, which is a set of policies that they aim to implement to boost productivity and growth, following up on the Draghi report. And the energy transition, it remains the key cornerstone in that policy package. Where things get a bit tricky is if we get into a situation where the Trump administration puts tariffs on China and other countries that are heavily involved in the supply chains for wind and solar, because that just makes the production of windmills and solar panels that much more expensive, and again means that growth rates will stay lower for the next 3 to 4 years.
From an investment perspective then, should you avoid renewable energy companies?
Well, somebody once said that any asset class or any industry that is down more than 2/3 from its peak is worth a look. And when it comes to renewable shares, a lot of them are down 70% or more. And I would say if you want to be selective, there are some opportunities if they're focused predominantly on running wind and solar farms in Europe, where the political environment is most productive and most positive. Other than that, I would stay away from them simply because the outlook is one where it's incredibly uncertain and where we think that the growth expectations that are priced into these stocks still have to come down somewhat more.
You mentioned it before though, Joachim, Republicans' favourite form of renewable energy, nuclear, obviously very expensive, but is it time to invest in nuclear plants?
I think the shift towards building more nuclear power plants, and in particular developing small modular reactors that are more versatile and hopefully at one stage in the future will have lower production costs than conventional large-scale reactors. I think that shift is going to stay with us because it is a shift and a push that isn't just happening in the US, it is happening most importantly in China, and it is increasingly happening in the UK and other European countries. So this is one of the few policy areas where there seems to be a new global consensus that nuclear power is an important transition energy that is low greenhouse gases, and that we might need to provide stable electricity supply in the future.
That was Joachim Klement of Panmure Liberum. Don't forget you can watch more videos on Reuters.com.